Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today I'm going to go quickly through the fact that Gary Johnson has just announced that he is running for the New Mexico Senate race in 2018. So back when he lost the presidential election in 2016, he did say that he wasn't going to run for any further office. I'm not 100% sure if he said president or not. However, he is running for office. So he is running for New Mexico Senate race, which I'm going to put in the toss-up column right now. I'm not putting it in a toss-up column in future predictions. It's just for this video's sake. It's going to go by really quickly because there's not that much information to cover. However, when we look at, this is pretty much the only data we have now that Gary Johnson compared to Martin Heinrich, mainly because he wasn't supposed to be in the race. I mean, this was all last minute. There was already a nominee, and then the convention put forward Gary Johnson. So this is all, I guess, last minute. This was something to put up against, just to have a candidate against Martin Heinrich that wasn't someone from the GOP. So what is very interesting, I honestly do think if the GOP nomination, if the GOP nod did drop out, I guess, that he wouldn't, I guess Gary Johnson would have a much better chance at winning. However, I don't see the Republican nominee dropping out whatsoever. The Republicans like to have a stand in almost every single race, so I highly doubt that they're going to drop a candidate only to push for someone who really isn't going to back the Trump agenda 100%. And even though the Republicans don't think they have a shot, they would still like to try. And considering that the Republican candidate hasn't dropped out so far, probably isn't going to anyways. And we can go ahead and take a look at current polling. So when we see a three-way race, Martin Heinrich clearly is the winner. In the most recent one taken in favor of his campaign, he gets 47% of the vote. Mick Rich gets 29% and Gary Johnson gets 22%. In a libertarian favored poll, there are no unbiased polls here, unfortunately, shows Martin Heinrich with 39%, Mick Rich with 25%, and Gary Johnson at 24%. So whichever way you spin this, Martin Heinrich is still in the favorite to win this race. For just a two-way race between the Republican and the Democrat, 47% to 29%, that was taken in the favor of the Libertarian. So I guess you could say either skews away from the Democrats and Republicans evenly. But with Gary Johnson, that same poll shows Gary Johnson beating him 42-40, but that's probably not right. And the poll that shows Heinrich ahead by 12% probably isn't too correct either. However, I do expect a Martin Heinrich victory at the end, I guess in November. I do not see possibility of Gary Johnson winning this race, especially in a three-way race. Gary Johnson does not take away more from Democratic voters than Republican voters. That would completely invalidate the argument that Donald Trump would have won if Libertarian voters didn't have a candidate. So, again, let's say you do say that if Hillary Clinton gained more votes than Donald Trump based off Libertarian voters, she likely would have won that election. So saying that the Libertarian candidate, Gary Johnson, would take away more from Democratic voters than Republican voters would completely invalidate that argument. So you can only choose one or the other. So you can't say Gary Johnson is going to get and take Democratic voters while pushing the Republican up or pushing himself up. There's always going to be Democratic and Republican voters being taken away when a Libertarian runs, but it's usually Republican voters, considering that the Libertarian Party is more closely tied to the GOP than it is toward the Democratic Party. So when we look at these numbers, it doesn't look too good for Gary Johnson, considering that even a poll taken in the favor of him with a three-way race does not even show him at second place. Okay, Martin Heinrich beats second place by 14% and beats Gary Johnson by 15%. There's probably not going to be a two-way race when we look at this, especially when we look at the predictions and the ratings. It's been solid Democratic. And Fox News rates it as likely Democratic, but I'm putting that in the solid column from Fox News, considering that they've never given a higher rating than likely Democratic, even in a state like California, which has two Democrats on the ballot, which baffles me 100%. But still, Martin Heinrich is still the favorite to win this election. So when it comes down to it, yes, Gary Johnson can make this race a little bit closer for both candidates, which means that this state could possibly go into the likely column, a 14 to 15% margin for Martin Heinrich, but we're probably not going to see a 1 to 2% margin or even a possibility of Gary Johnson winning in the New Mexico Senate race. Yes, he's a good candidate. He could have a huge implication on this race. Getting already 22% of the vote, even in a Democratic skewed poll, shows good news for Gary Johnson. But I'm not saying that he's going to win this race whatsoever, especially looking at his previous history. It looks like he's going to be attacked for a number of things, especially what happened in 2016. I guess Martin Heinrich could call him a spoiler for Hillary Clinton, things like that. It all comes down to where Gary Johnson was perceived before. He did do very well in the presidential election in New Mexico, especially since he was a former Republican governor. However, we're not going to see a real possibility of him winning. He could get close, but unfortunately for him, he's probably not going to have a shot at winning this race, especially since most of I guess the Democrats are going to focus on this race a little bit more, and they really don't need to, but I feel like they are going to, just to put a candidate and have a good showing against Gary Johnson. And this will probably be the last time he runs for anything, if he does choose to run and continue out until November. So he's already been nominated, so it looks like he has a real possibility of being on that ballot. But if he doesn't drop out and he loses in this election, I highly doubt he's going to consider running in 2020, especially since he ran in 2012, in 2016, and now 2018. It'll be, I guess, a number of losses that the Libertarians probably aren't going to want to run him again. So overall, big, I guess, whole takeaway, Martin Heinrich is still likely to win the Senate race. Gary Johnson probably isn't going to have a shot at this race because there's the Republican candidate, only if this was a two-way race, which isn't likely to happen at this point in time. So thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below. And also, I have a new channel. I will put it in the comment section below, pinned at the top. But go ahead and subscribe to it. It's you'll see the name when you get there. I just made an announcement video, so if you want to check that out as well, perfectly fine. But thank you guys for watching this video again, and I'll see you all tomorrow.